Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to be reviewing Matlock Season 1, Episode 13. So before I get into the review, I just want to say thank you to everybody who likes my videos, subscribes to my channel, leaves me comments. I appreciate you so much. I love the discussion and any questions you have about the episode. So definitely leave those comments below. So the beginning of this episode picked up where the last episode left off with the whole Edwin and Maddie conversation about their daughter Ellie's death. So definitely a conversation I'm glad they're having, because you could tell there was a little bit of tension. And I love that they had that communication. And Maddie even admitted, yeah, sometimes I blame myself as well. So just a difficult situation altogether. I know you heard my thoughts on it in my last review with the episode, but I can't even imagine going through that. I mean, that is such a terrible thing, having somebody that's a drug addict and thinking about who's going to take care of the child and is the child safe. So we found out a lot about, the history of Maddie and her daughter, and how she, came about being responsible for her grandson. So definitely helps some of the backstory there. Getting into this episode, the case, Olympia is spearheading a class action case against Slammed, which is an energy drink, and they advertise 5 shots in one drink. And apparently the advertising and the marketing is toward, young adults and children. So apparently it's a very strong drink, and, Olympia just wants to get it off the market, basically. So the case that they have is actually a sorority case, and Billy's mom or relative, I apologize, I don't know what the relative was, but called Billy and was like, hey, did you hear about this, on the news? It's about Slammed. Aren't you involved in a case with that? So that's actually how they found out about this other case. You don't really hear much about the class action suit because this case is based on what happened to these college girls. So apparently they were having a party in the sorority house, and one girl must have had alcohol with Slammed in it, and she ended up in the hospital. So I guess they were taking video or pictures, and they arrested the girl who handed her the cup. So there's some kind of evidence showing that this girl handed her the cup that had the Slammed in it that took her to the hospital. So obviously Olympia is like, okay, I have a class action suit against Slammed. I want it off the market. I need to represent this girl, because I can't have her, I can't have her be guilty. She has to be not guilty. We can't blame the individual who gave her the drink. We have to blame the company, because that's going to hurt her class action suit if this girl is guilty. So she's basically going in, and I love Olympia. She's laying it all out on the table. She's like, listen, this is why I'm helping you pro bono, because obviously the college sorority girl's like, I can't afford a big lawyer, because Olympia walks in with Maddie, Sarah, and Billy. So you've got 4 people walking in on this, college girl who's gotten arrested and kind of been this whirlwind, of trying to catch her breath of everything going on. And she's got 4 adults looking at her wanting to take her case. So Olympia was like, pro bono, I need you to be not guilty, because I want the real people to pay, which is the energy company. And she said she didn't know that there was Slammed in the drink. She was just giving her the cup, but apparently there's proof of it. And so Olympia goes to the DA's office and is like, hey, you need to let this one go. But he's a young DA, and he wants to prove himself, and he's kind of going, full throttle. And Olympia's like, it's not her fault. While they're discussing this, Olympia trying to get the case dropped, DA finds out that Violet, the girl who was in the hospital from the drink that was spiked with Slammed, dies. So now they're arresting Zoe on manslaughter, saying that she killed this girl on purpose because she gave her the spiked drink. So I mean, definitely a scary case. Obviously we're going to believe that Zoe didn't know the drink was spiked, right? Because she's our client. But what you find out, I believe she's innocent the whole time. But what you find out is she has been, torturing, humiliating, embarrassing Violet for months. And there was 19 girls at the sorority, party that night. And all of them, don't agree that she's been torturing her. So all of them basically saw her give her the drink. Nobody else is saying, out of all 19 girls, nobody says they saw anybody else touch the cup except Zoe. So, Olympia's like, okay, out of 19 girls, one of them has got to have seen something. But no, they know they didn't like each other. Apparently, Violet, or Zoe's boyfriend, cheated on her with Violet, or maybe it's Violet's boyfriend now. But at any rate, Zoe was upset that her ex was with Violet. So, I mean, there's so many things stacked up against Zoe. And I believed she was innocent, but it's an uphill battle when you have 19 people and none of them are going to side with you. All 19 girls, according to Billy and Sarah, believe that she could have done it because she's kind of been making fun of her for weeks, months, in this sorority. So definitely trying to find out where, and Maddie's trying to comfort her because like I said earlier, I'm sure she's like, okay, yeah, I didn't like her, but I didn't kill her. I mean, do I think Zoe is innocent of being a good person? No, I don't think she was a good girl. I think, we find out later she also humiliated one of the other girls. They had a big sister, little sister program. And she humiliated one of the girls because she was missing a bead on her bracelet. They all had bracelets for the sorority, and it was a pearl bracelet, and she was missing one pearl, and she called her out in front of the whole place. So Zoe seemed like a bully and kind of a snob, and kind of the B word, if you want to be completely honest. However, you don't have to be a nice person. If you didn't commit a crime, you shouldn't be going down for it, right? It doesn't matter how nice or mean you are. She shouldn't go to jail for something she didn't do. So she honestly did not know there was slammed in the cup, and she just handed her the cup just like you would anybody handing drinks out at a party. So even though, all of this stuff is coming out about Zoe not being a good person, still doesn't necessarily, mean that she actually did this. So I think she's just a scared college girl. Maybe a stuck-up snob, but still a scared college girl. And she is 21 or 22. So apparently something else that's against her is the man at the liquor store ID'd her as buying the slammed. So she's like, look, I never bought it. I keep my ID in the top drawer. Everybody knows where it is. One of the other girls at the party who's underage could have used it. And the clerk was like, no, I'm always very careful. I checked her ID. It was her. So I'm thinking a lot of the girls, same hair color, they're all usually the same figure, slim. I'm like, okay, maybe it was another, brunette because she had brown hair. I'm like, you can definitely, if you're a clerk, kind of get confused, and saying people look alike, right? So I didn't really buy that, but obviously it still looked damaging for her in front of the jury. But so I'm thinking, okay, we've got to prove that somebody A, took her ID, and B, she didn't know about the slammed. So, definitely having everything stacked against her. Now, Sarah and Billy, they interviewed all 19 girls. Like I said, none of them will help. They all think she did it. All spoke of this meanness she had specifically to Violet. And they were combing through the photos, and they showed one of them to Maddie because they're like, I don't see anything. And Maddie was like, whoa, that moved. That's a live photo. And then Billy and Sarah were like, okay, we need to look at them all again because they're live, so they're kind of in motion. So they were able to actually see a hand behind somebody else taking a selfie of an ID, and you're like, okay, that's the ID. Remember, Zoe said everybody in the sorority knew where she hid her ID. So now we have proof that somebody's hand put the ID back. So that night it was big sister, little sister. They had matching pajamas. So in the end, that's kind of how Olympia figured it out. You had matching pajamas. This is what the pajama looked like, and we see embroidered a B for the big sister. And it turns out the little sister, oh, and I was telling you about the bracelet. Apparently the big sister, switched bracelets with her so she wouldn't get in trouble again. So we saw the B for the big sister, and it was that bracelet that she admitted to switching. So apparently, she humiliated another girl for having one pearl off in her bracelet. And so the big sister, her name is Kennedy, felt bad and, like I said, switched bracelets. But Kennedy is the one who took the ID. And then you turn out that even more is Kennedy actually lost chapter president in the sorority to, or Zoe. Yeah, Kennedy lost to Zoe. So Zoe is the chapter president for her sorority, and Kennedy lost to her. So I feel like she's kind of bitter from that loss. And then her little sister, program was humiliated by Zoe because of the pearl missing on her bracelet. So I guess that was her revenge. So basically we found out Kennedy was the one who used her ID and bought the slam. So they were able to win the case because Olympia is amazing. I love that actress. She is one of my favorite characters on the show besides Maddie. She just does a killer job. I just love her confidence, and she's one of my favorite characters. Like I said, her and Maddie. But anyway, she does a killer job and gets her off. No pun intended, killer job. She gets Zoe off that she didn't, it wasn't her fault. She did not buy the slam. She had no idea there was slammed in that drink. She was just simply giving a drink to a girl at the party. Yes. Did she have animosity towards her? Was she making fun of her and humiliating her for months? Yes. But she never intended to harm her. She was just giving her a drink along with the other 19 people at the party. So even though, they were able to win the case, there's still that moment after where Zoe was, Maddie could tell she was a little upset, and Maddie was like, you should feel good that that we won the case. And she's like, but I still feel bad. I still gave her the drink. I didn't know that there was slammed in it, but I still gave her the drink. So I feel like, Zoe still has that guilt. Like, I know it wasn't my fault. I didn't know what was in there. I was just simply handing her a beverage, but I still feel guilty because, I'm the one who actually gave it to her. So I don't think that guilt's going to go away. It might be suppressed, but I think Maddie can relate. And you get these flashbacks of her and the custody battle with Ellie, her daughter. And then Maddie just goes, you just have to let it go and move on. And I feel like she was kind of speaking from experience. So, I'm glad Olympia won the case. I don't know if we're going to see down the line this big class action suit against Slam. I think that was just to set up the current case with the sorority sisters. But you don't know. You hear in episodes, they talk about previous cases. So maybe in the next episode, or a couple episodes now, they'll do a big episode with taking down the energy drink slammed. Or maybe it was just to set up the sorority sisters case, just for this one episode. We don't really know because we never saw the class action case come to light. That was just the beginning, and that's what made Olympia interested in this case. And luckily for Zoe, she was willing to do it pro bono and won her case. So talking about the beginning, about, they had that conversation with Maddie and Edwin. This also was around Easter in the episode. So, the law firm has what they call Family Day, and they have a non-denominational bunny. So apparently, like over 60% of the law firm is Jewish, so they don't really celebrate Easter, but they still have this big Easter egg hunt when, in the whole law firm, and everybody brings in their kids and they have this bunny. And, it's supposed to be a fun day. So, I mean, Maddie and Edwin were talking about that. Like, should I bring Alfie? And so he does go, and they kind of have a plan. Shift changes at 3 o'clock. And while they're doing this egg hunt, he's going to have a distraction. And Maddie's going to be able to go into the security office and with Jillian's key card and print out printout of where he was on that day in the document room. So, his whereabouts, I guess, on that day where he clocked in and out with his key card. And then they find the security guard, took the whole day, to be with their child at the egg hunt. So they had to come up with a new plan. And of course, Alfie's like, do you want me to go rogue? And Maddie was like, no, but you find out that they did. So Maddie had to be in court all day. So Alfie was at the law firm by himself with all the other kids finding eggs and candy and chocolate and, and so when they got back from court, Maddie was like, I can't find Alfie. He's gone. I haven't been able to reach him. So they're all freaking out. And Olympia's like, I'll get security. We'll search for him. And it finds out that he was caught in a stairwell, which is supposed to have been off limits. They mentioned that at the beginning of the egg hunt, but Alfie found himself in the stairwell. So then you see the security guy, getting him back. And then, Maddie was like, oh, I'm so glad he's safe. Let me take you to the bus station and take you home. So in the elevator, she's like, he's like, did you get it? And she's like, yeah. So that was a diversion. Everybody was looking for Alfie. The security person had to leave the desk to unlock, the door to get him back in because he's locked out in the stairwell. And Maddie was able to get everything. So she printed it off, had it in her purse, gave it to Alfie so we know it's safely at home because it wasn't lost or nobody saw it. She literally gave it to Alfie in the elevator as he's leaving. So definitely glad they got that. We'll see what information that has. The other thing that was interesting was Maddie ran into Senior. We don't really know why she was walking past Senior's office, but Senior was yelling for his assistant about some kind of back pillow or something. So Maddie walks in and he's taking these tablets or gummies or whatever. He's taking marijuana. And he's like, Maddie, do you want some? It's going to make you feel better. And Maddie was like, no. And then she was like, sure, why not give me half? So then you actually see Maddie on the same chair that he's in. And it's kind of like a lounge chair. There's a pillow. And I'm like, okay, Maddie, like chill. It's kind of like when we saw her drinking with Olympia at the bar. Like, Maddie, I'm glad you're getting her comfortable, but don't drink too much to where you slip up. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to kind of let them get their guards down so that you can get information, but you kind of have to be careful because if you start drinking or using marijuana, you might, not be full right in your mind and, slip up, right? Because when you're drinking at a bar and having a good time and you're laid back, most likely that's when things slip up. So she did really well with the Olympia at the bar and she got pretty intoxicated. So I'm like, okay, she'll be all right. So she's getting high with Senior and they're lying there and he's like, she's trying to get information from him and they kind of have a touching moment. I don't think she gets, a lot necessarily information out of him, just that when he has regrets, he usually will smoke marijuana and make him feel good, less feel worse about, or less feel not as bad about his regrets. So I was hoping we would get some more information. We didn't really, but it was definitely interesting. I wasn't expecting to see Maddie high in this episode. So I'm always surprised. This show keeps me guessing and gets me surprised at every turn. So definitely kind of comical to see them kind of laid back and kind of out of it there for a few minutes. We don't really see any pertinent information come from this meeting. But if Senior is comfortable with Maddie in that state, then maybe, you know what I mean, she's kind of greasing the wheels by getting comfortable with him. So hopefully that'll help her down the line, which I'm assuming is why she did it. Because this is the long game she's playing. She's not playing a short game. She's trying to slowly get under everybody's, radar, kind of find out how everybody ticks and get the information she needs. There was a couple scenes with Sarah and Billy. We find out Billy is basically dating Sarah's nemesis from the other episode. So obviously they're keeping it quiet. And then Sarah sees them together, so she finds out. And Sarah has been on, I guess, a status update with the person she's dating. They gave it 30 days. So they meet and they kiss, and you think, okay, they're gonna, become a couple again. I guess they were kind of on a break. But then Kira was like, are you open to, will you be willing to consider an open relationship? She says she's not a one person type person. She's not. So you don't really hear what Sarah says, because Sarah obviously cares for her. So I think that's going to be interesting. Obviously, if you're going to have an open relationship, they need to know about it, right? You just can't go cheating on somebody. You have to make sure they're aware of it. And I always say, to each his own. My channel is a judge-free zone. I don't judge people. You do what goes right for you. So, there are a lot of happy people in open relationships. I don't personally have an open relationship, but I think as long as you're honest and you talk about things, that's what I think is the most important thing. So I don't see Sarah going that way, but you never know. If she doesn't want to lose Kara, maybe she'll be open to it for a beginning and see how she likes it. But I think Sarah was really just wanting to stay in that relationship with Kara. So we'll have to see what happens there. And then Maddie gets home, right? And she got high with Senior, so she's hungry and she starts eating this pie that's on the table. And then you hear this other voice, and her sister Betsy just shows up. So remember how I was saying at the beginning of the episode, they talked about it, and she was like, I got enough to deal with. I got family day at the law firm. I got this case with, college sorority girls. Like, I don't have time. But I guess she didn't hear from Maddie and just showed up. So we don't really know what relationship she has with her sister. However, we do see a little bit in the preview. So the preview for next week kind of has her sister finding her board, right? Because remember, in her house, she has this huge board of Jackson and Moore and Olympia and Senior and Jillian. Well, I guess she took down Olympia, but all of everything affiliated with the Welbraxa case. So her sister sees it and basically criticizes her, and Maddie kind of yells at her like, you can't tell me what I can't do in my own house. So I think there's a little bit of a spat there. And you see them shredding all kinds of documents at the office. So I don't know what that's about. Usually when you see people shredding boxes and boxes and you have 10 people in one office with all these shredders, it's usually not good. It usually means you're hiding something. I mean, let's be honest. Why do you need to shred all that documents unless you're lying or doing something deceitful? So I definitely think that's going to be interesting on what that's about. Because she goes home and tells Edwin, and Edwin's like, well, they're shredding the document with the Welbraxa. Like, everything she's done is going to be pointless if they can't get any paperwork to prove it. So, I mean, Matlock's been renewed for season 2. So they can't end it here. So I'm sure, hopefully there's some way around this where they can still get their documentation. But I hope you enjoyed my review. As always, I love Matlock. They always keep it interesting, and Maddie always comes out in the end. You never know how she's going to do it. I'm like, oh no, she can't find Alfie. And then I'm thinking, of course it's the plan. And it was. And of course she executes it brilliantly. I hope Kathy Bates gets some kind of award for her performance in this show because she is phenomenal. And like I said, Olympia, she is such a great actress. I think she's doing an amazing job. So until next week, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will see you then. Bye.